Good to see some of you guys that are double teaming with us and women's basketball. Looks like David and Lulu and others are strictly on the women's basketball beat right now as well. We'll remember that come football season for sure. But glad to have you guys here today as well, and appreciate everyone coming out. Just finished up practice 6 today. Off to a good start, without a doubt. Before I get into football, certainly what a great weekend around Gamecock athletics. Congrats to our equestrian team on winning the SEC championship last weekend. Awesome for those ladies. Congrats to Coach Staley on another Final Four, and best of luck to them in Tampa this weekend. Hope to bring back another national championship to Columbia. And then awesome weekend by our softball team down in Baton Rouge. Winning 2 games on Sunday and winning that series in dramatic fashion also. So really happy for them. A lot of great things going on with our athletic department, no question about it. While that was going on, as many of you know, we had our high school coaches clinic last weekend. So thanks again to all the high school coaches that were here for that. It was an all-time record here for attendance at our high school coaches clinic. Awesome speakers, so appreciative of Dave Canales, the head coach of the Panthers, Coach Chennisberry, the head coach at South Carolina State, John Fossil, the special teams coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, and Hall of Fame coach Mac Brown coming and speaking at our clinic. Means a lot that all those guys took time to come here and visit with us. We had coaches from all over the country that were at our clinic, and also had 7 coaches from Canada that came down as well. So appreciate those guys, and so many of those coaches came up to me or texted me afterwards to tell me that it's the best clinic they've ever been to in all of their years of coaching. So makes me proud to hear that, and it's because of the people we have here in this program. And then want to make sure everyone knows we've got our Ladies' Day coming up next weekend, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday is our Ladies' Football Day. That'll be in conjunction with our spring practice next weekend as well. So you can still sign up for that. That's always a fun day. So any of you ladies in the back that would like to participate, we'd love to have you. And you can find out information, I believe, on our football website, hopefully as well. But that's next weekend. As I said, practice 6 was today. Had a good week last week. A lot of situational work. Got into third down situations last week. Today we introduced short yardage goal line. Tomorrow or Thursday we'll get into some red zone work, and then Saturday we'll have our first scrimmage of the spring over in the stadium as well, and then all that leading up to the spring game here in a couple weeks as well. But love the way the group's working. Love the mentality that they've had since January. They're a fun group to be around, and got a lot of work to do, as you guys can imagine. A lot of young faces out there that are going through spring practice for the very first time, but have no complaints about the work ethic and the progress that we're making, and just keep just trying to continue to stack days and get better and better. So with that, open the floor up. Who gets the honor? Okay, Hale deserves that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you do.
With Vicari, what are the timelines for him to get back in good standing academically and with the team as well?
Yeah, he's in great standing with the team right now. He's taking care of some academic responsibilities and expecting back sooner than later, and nothing that will deter him from being able to play this season.
From practice 1 to now, this is your 6th practice, you said. Is there any specific player that you've seen vast improvement from so far?
I wouldn't say vast improvement. I could go through every position and talk about guys that, you hope everyone's improving throughout the spring. To be able to name one, not necessarily, but I'm pleased with the progress that, that all of our guys are making, whether it be returning players that have played a lot of football for us, that are returning starters, seeing them make improvement and steps in their game to take their game to the next level. You're seeing signs of that. Transfers that came in that had to understand the first couple practices how we practice around here, because as a lot of them have told me, it's different than where they came from. So those guys getting acclimated to that and getting better, the transfers, and then the freshmen that just got here, that they go out to the first practice, second practice, and their minds are blown just because there's so much going on. The speed, the intensity, the physicality, the mental stuff that's coming at you, trying to learn offense, defense, and special team schemes, but seeing those guys have everything, slow down for them. So everyone, how about that as well? But no, I'm pleased with the progress of the group. We got a long way to go, but you see flashes of guys each and every day. And we talked about it in our team meeting this morning that, from a X's and O's standpoint, it should start to slow down for a little bit now, because the first week of practice, you're installing your first and second down, like base stuff, and that's a lot. And then last week you get into all your third down packages, and that's a lot, offense and defense. And then this week we're getting into some red zone stuff, that certain calls defensively and offensively that we would only call down in the red zone as you get closer to the goal line. But after you kind of get through this week, there's not much more. So it should start to slow down and see guys make even bigger, jumps from an improvement standpoint.
Going back a couple months, what were the conversations like with the families of Jordan Gidron and Donovan Murph to get those guys to reclassify? And what is it about them that makes you feel comfortable of, hey, come in a year early and we think you can contribute?
Yeah, there was zero from us trying to get them to do anything. That's 100% the truth. They approached us about it. And probably midway through the season, Jordan, I think Murph was around the Ole Miss game. I think he told you that, or somebody on the day that he signed. But right around the same time, I think they saw what we were doing on the field and were ready to be a part of it. And the conversations were them coming to us to see if this is something that they could do and if we would be open to them doing it. And our answer was absolutely. We would love for you to, but there's no pressure. I want you to enjoy being in high school and be a high school, get to enjoy your senior year and things like that as well. But they were adamant this is what they wanted to do. They were very close with the people in this recruiting class. They were very close with the people on our team already, and they were eager to get here. And that's a tough thing to do. So I wouldn't be maybe as open to it with others as I was them, and it's because of their maturity. Like those two young guys, Jordan and Donovan, both, they're extremely mature, and they've both got great families as well. They've got a great upbringing, direction at home, very, 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 mature kids. Jordan, to be, you got to remind yourself that he's a junior in high school still, going through spring practice with an SEC football team, but he's got all A's right now in school. He hasn't had a single B on any. We get progress reports on our players every week. He hasn't had a B the entire semester. Got all A's in everything that he's doing. Hasn't been on a list, meaning late for something in this building or doing something wrong. He's been fantastic because he's a mature kid and he's very driven and has a great family. Murph is the same way. Awesome family, very driven. You go to his high school, you could sit there and talk to him. He's a young guy, but he's like a wise old soul. You could talk to him like he's a 30-year-old man. And I can't remember if I told you guys this, but even the day that he announced at the All-Star game in January, I believe is what it was, that he was coming to South Carolina. I wasn't in a good place because that was about 2 days after the bowl game, and was still not in a good place. And I'll never forget, after the bowl game, my family and I, got out of town, and we were sitting on a beach for about 2 days before I came back, and my phone rang on, I think it was a Saturday morning, Sunday morning, whatever day the All-Star game was, whatever day it was, called me that morning. It was Murph. And immediately when a guy calls, now he's already signed, but when he calls me the morning of an All-Star game, you're worried. And he was just calling to thank me for the opportunity to come play football at South Carolina, and I told him on the phone that day, I'm like, you know what? Not many guys would do that. The fact that you're getting ready to go on national television, playing an All-Star game, and you took the time to just call and thank me for this opportunity, one, cheers me up because I'm in a pretty crappy mood right now, but two, gives me great hope for this freshman class and the future of our program as well, because we got great young men in our program, and those two guys are right at the top.
You mentioned a handful of guys before spring practice began that were going to be out for various amounts of time. Have any of those guys been able to come back and practice, and is there anyone else who's joined that injury list, so to speak?
I forget who I told you at the beginning that we're going to be limited. Right now, everybody's out there pretty much going at it. Hale that wasn't at the beginning, except Michael Smith is not back out and won't be. Brubaker is not back out and won't be. Caleb Williams is not back out and won't be through the end of spring. I think that's it right now. Everybody else is practicing. And then the only two new additions, unfortunately, are Nick Sharp on the offensive line and Jalen Brown on the defensive line. Disappointing because that's two positions that we really need to stay healthy at. But both those two guys suffered injuries last week, and they'll miss the rest of spring, unfortunately.
What is going on behind Lenoris at quarterback?
Great competition is what's going on behind Lenoris at quarterback. Dante Reno obviously has been here, and it's his second year in the program. Cutter Woods just got here. Aaron Nolan just got here. And Jimmy Francis, it's his second year in the program, so we're very young at that position, obviously, including Lenoris. I mean, it's only his, third year in the program. We don't have a number two quarterback right now. I think, a lot of you guys are eager to anoint certain people as the backup, and we're all about competition, here as well. So there's great competition. Coach Shula is doing a great job of mixing up the reps of who gets work with that group, and sometimes it's Cutter, sometimes it's Air, sometimes it's Dante, and they've all flashed. I think they've all shown great improvement since the beginning of spring practice, and there's no question Dante's improved since last year. There's no question that Air is getting more and more comfortable. We did a little drive out there today where we didn't script anything, Phil. We just put the ball down and just basically played football like a game, and Air led his series. I mean, he led the offense on I was hoping it was going to be about a 4, 5, 6 play drive, but it ended up being a 19 play drive that he took the team down the field. But I'm really excited about Cutter Woods. You guys that followed him in high school know that he's a winner. That's just what he did in high school and comes from a great program up there at Westside with Coach Lane. So I really like the group. We're very young, but there's really good competition going on behind Lenoris right now for sure.
Kind of sticking with that quarterback position, Luke Doty's been wearing the green quarterback.
Luke, too. I'm sorry. Luke's working at quarterback also. I'm an idiot, Phil. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yes, and then Luke is in there also. So Luke's a guy that, you talk about just can do a lot. Luke is still wearing the green jersey, playing some quarterback. Luke's going through special teams. Luke knows what to do at receiver, so throw Luke in that quarterback equation as well. Sorry, Luke. Go ahead.
Yeah, and just to add to that, is that just kind of an experience factor with him being that the room's still kind of young, just kind of adding him having that experience playing the position?
Yeah, absolutely. Year one, back in 2021, my first year as the head coach, you guys that were here, Luke was our starting quarterback going into the season and coming out of spring practice. So he's got that experience. It's a great resource to have in that room for those other quarterbacks, Lenoris included, because he has played. You feel confident with him being in the game, and he's just such a good football player and good athlete. When we went back and we did all of our testing at the end of the winter, we did our own version of the NFL Combine, and when we did all that testing, if you took Luke's numbers and you put them strictly in the wide receiver room, he'd be pretty much top 3 in every testing measurable at the receiver position: speed, vertical jump, agility, all that as well. So, we talked about it as a staff that, look, this guy can help us, and we need to find a way where he can help us and put him in that position. So he's doing a little bit of everything. So don't be shocked if you see him at quarterback this upcoming season, receiver, playing special teams. He's just he makes our team better on and off the field.
Shane, with Xavion Hardy, how is that transition? I know it's only spring practice, but how has that transition gone for him so far from what you've seen from JUCO to college? And just how much does it help in that room having him as a guy that technically already has college experience out there?
Yeah, it helps a lot. It's a big jump. There's no question about it, going from high school to junior college. Now, he was part of a great junior college program out in Mississippi, so he's used to winning. But, getting here and understanding how we do things in the weight room, academically, on the practice field, even though you are an older guy and you're not fresh out of high school, it's still new in so many ways. But I feel like the adjustments gone well. He was a little banged up from a health standpoint initially, but he's past that and doing everything full speed. And Travian is doing a great job of coaching him hard and being demanding. And we need him to come on. It's like I've talked to all those defensive linemen, Jack, like Boogie, Tonka, TJ. I love seeing them out on the practice field today when they were out watching us, but they ain't coming back. And DeAndre Jules, he's gone. So there's your top 4 defensive tackles. So who is going to step up? And we're still trying to figure that out. And Xavion has an opportunity too, along with those other guys. But we're eager to see who takes the next step in that room. And it's wide open right now.
We've got 6 days until the possible signing of the House settlement. I'm curious, over the last couple months, what conversations have you had with other SEC coaches and Jeremiah in making sure that you guys are all prepared and have your ducks in a row when that possibly goes into effect in July?
Yeah, other SEC coaches, none really, other than when we went to New Orleans in, what was that, February? We went to New Orleans and we met with the athletic directors for 2 days. That was the bulk of our trip to New Orleans, was those discussions, but there's just so much uncertainty too. There was then, and there still is now as well. The conversations with Jeremiah and Jeff Crane, a lot, just in regards to, and I'm no different than any other coach, here at South Carolina. I've, talked to Kaylin, our women's golf coach, about it, and I've talked to different coaches about it, and Jeremiah's done a great job with all of the head coaches in the departments of being transparent with them best he can. And then he and I have certainly had a lot of conversations because we know what's coming on April 7th. We know, what the possibilities are, but even what happens on April 7th, there's still some uncertainty about what happens then too. So you're there's like plan A. If this happens, there's plan B. If this happens, there's plan C. If this happens, but this doesn't happen with it, there's plan D. If this happens and this does happen with it. And that's a challenge as you're sitting here going into the, Lamont and Dawn are dealing with it right now. I guess their portal is open. Our portal opens, April 16th, I think, is when the next transfer portal is for us. So Jeremiah's been great. My conversations with him, just being able to, tell me as much as he can tell me and give us as much clarity, but we're all trying to, figure out exactly what this thing is going to look like. When I say all of the coaches here at Carolina, and really all the coaches across the country in so many ways too.
Mike Shula said in his press conference that he wants Lenores to run the ball when he wants to, not when he needs to, and sort of mix the running and passing into his game. It's early, but what have those conversations looked like to getting Lenore's passing, I don't want to say in order, but on par, and how has he looked in that regard so far?
Yeah, I feel good. It's a little bit different in practice because, we're not going to let him run every time in practice. I mean, usually I'm going to blow the whistle and things like that as well, and not get tackled. I mean, we've made him live before, but we're not doing that right now in practice. So there's times where certainly he takes off running and the defense is screaming that they tackled him and that they made a sack, and I just kind of look at him and I'm like, come on, fellas, really, we're still doing this with Lenoris. You didn't make that tackle. But so I'm fine there. He's got a good feel on when to run and when not to run. As far as a passer, I think he's done a good job and continues to improve. He made a lot of big-time throws last season for us, and I've seen him make throws this spring. And you think about it, he's doing it with a lot of new receivers and new tight ends. Jared Brown's back, Nick Harbor, Mazio, but after that, it's a ton of new faces at the receiver position. Tight end wise, Brady's back and Mo Brown's back, but Jordan Dingle's new. So there's just a lot of new faces out there, and they're trying to get timing down and things like that as well. So I've seen him, certainly grow as a passer, and will continue to. And he's a great playmaker for sure. And I think what Coach Shula was alluding to too is just understanding what's going on, making sure your drop and your footwork are exact and the ball is coming out on time. And then if there's an opportunity to run after you've done all that the right way, then more power to you. We're not against Lenore's running by any stretch of the imagination, but there's times certainly where we, want him to take throws that are there before we run also.
I think I understood that the spring game won't be televised live or throughout the summer. Is that something that like coaches all across the SEC chose to do, or is it just an individual decision or a decision y'all made independent of what your opponents are doing?
I would say it's independent, but from what I can tell, I think most of us are on the same page. The best I understand it, Hale, is we had an opportunity to either televise the spring game, and I don't know if it would have been live. I don't know if it would have been like replayed at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. I don't know. Or put together it was either a 30-minute or 60-minute show to basically document your football program on SEC Network. I chose the show because I just felt like from a recruiting standpoint, if I'm a high school recruit, I love what we do in the spring game, and I love the competition and the energy and the fans that the players get to see on television, but we'll have so many players that'll be here in person for the spring game. I felt like it would be more beneficial for us from a recruiting standpoint to be able to put together a show that can highlight our program, and we can, if all of you guys are recruits for us, we can let you know when this show is coming on, and you can watch this and learn a lot about our football program, and probably be more impactful from a recruiting standpoint than watching a 2-hour spring game on television. I certainly am sensitive to the people that want it on television that aren't able to get here to see it in person, and I certainly respect that, and I'm sorry that it won't be on television. For those people that enjoy watching it on television, hopefully you can get here in person to see it. I know not everyone can, but then there's also the competitive aspect of it as well. And frankly, Hale, like if I think I read that of the 16 SEC teams, 2 of them are maybe doing a televised spring game, I believe. I think I saw that A&M was, and somebody else, if I'm not mistaken. But from a competitive standpoint, if there's a spring game on television, we tape it and we watch it. And that's how, we can watch personnel and say, okay, we're playing, who's our first SEC game this year? Vanderbilt, I think. I think at Vandy's our first SEC game. Vandy, Missouri, Kentucky, somewhere up there at the beginning. But we could watch their spring game and just kind of get an idea about personnel and who's lined up where and things like that as well. So it's not very smart from my standpoint that if nobody else is going to be on television, why I would put ours on television for our opponents to, study what we're doing schematically, which it's going to be vanilla for everybody in the country in the spring game. Nobody's going to go out there and show all the new stuff that they're doing in the spring game, but you still can get a feel for new players, and it's different more than ever now because of the transfer portal. Last year was a nightmare for us getting ready for Old Dominion because their spring game wasn't on television and their whole roster was like news, so you really have no idea who's lined up where, who's doing what, in addition to other schematic changes that they might have made in the offseason. So we're doing a show. Sorry. Yeah, I could have said that quicker and saved you 2 minutes, but that's why.
Dion almost was able to sneak in that game against Syracuse until the NCAA, said no.
Yeah.
But that being coming as close as it did, does it give you maybe some hope that this could be something that will be worked on?
Yeah, definitely. Sounded like it was close that it was going to happen. Y'all know me. You were covering us when I was an assistant coach here back in 2007, 8, 9, and 10, and I was talking about it then and still am. I would love it. And I think a lot of the coaches in this league were in the same boat, that they would not be against doing it, would certainly be in favor of it. The thing that was tough this time is if the NCAA just let Syracuse and Colorado do it and not anybody else, at such short notice. I mean, a lot of teams I think have already finished spring ball. We had some coaches from Furman that were here today. They were already finished with spring practice, so for teams that didn't get that opportunity because they're already done with spring ball, it would be a little bit of a competitive disadvantage for them. But gives me hope, and we'll see what happens. And certainly, I'd be all for it, whether it be springtime or especially in the preseason.
You're good. Thank you. Yep. Sorry. One more question on the spring game. How much do you try to treat it like a traditional scrimmage or game as opposed to it's just like another practice for you guys?
We try and make it as much like a game as possible and not another practice. Now, we haven't gotten into the specifics of this year, Jack, as far as the structure of it, but as long as we have, healthy bodies and we've been able to stay fairly healthy. As long as we have healthy bodies, I want to have, 2 teams and play it as much like a game as we possibly can. Now, are you going to see Lenora Sellers in the fourth quarter? Probably not. But would he be in the spring game and playing some? Yeah. And it just goes back to, kind of what Phil said. We don't get any kind of opportunity against another team. So we want to treat it as much like a game as we possibly can, because the next time that we're playing in front of a big crowd is going to be in Atlanta against Virginia Tech. So we want to make it as much game-like as we possibly can.
Through these first half spring practices, what's kind of been your assessment of the special teams battle being a kicker, punter, and long snapper?
Yeah, they've all flashed and had their moments. We've got 4 snappers that are out there competing right now, and they've all flashed and had their moments. So that's where it starts. We can sit here and talk about the kicker and the punter all day. If we can't get the snap back there accurately, it's probably not going to matter who's back there. So we've got to step up there and be better. There's no question about it. And then from a kicking and punting and holding standpoint, I've been pleased. I think those guys have all been, consistent. Mason Love's doing a really nice job punting the ball right now, and all those guys are certainly have had their moments and have given us confidence as well. And it'll be key for those guys to, one, get in the stadium and be a part of some scrimmages. But going back to what Jack said, we need to kick the crap out of the ball in the spring game to put those guys in some pressure situations where they got to make some kicks and punts in the stadium in front of a crowd also.
Moving to another position group, how has the running back competition been for the guys trying to fill in Rocket's spot?
Yeah, that's another good one where there's a lot of competition going on. We today we did today was short yardage goal line, so we did some live, full speed tackle to the ground, put the ball down on the 2-yard line, and Coach Shula, don't throw it, just run the ball 5 times and let's see who can win, offense or defense. And we did the same thing with some short yardage situations where we said it's 4th and 1 on the whatever yard line and you got to get it, don't throw it, run it. So those guys have all done a good job. You're going to need more than 1, you're going to need more than 2, you need more than 3. And those guys have they got a good skill set. I like that group a lot. I really do. Obviously, Sewell coming in has done a good job. Oscar's improved. Going back to last year, Fuller and Hal, they're really good young players that are going to be really, really good players for us here at Carolina and helping us on special teams because they both run really, really, really well as well. And then, Bradley Dunn's an older guy that's been around our program for a while and knows what to do. And then all those young guys behind them as well. So there's a lot of guys that are competing and they're all trying to find a role on offense and special teams right now.
Coach Lucas was in here yesterday, obviously, and I can't remember how he labeled the effort points that he tallies up for his guys in his room, and he mentioned BT was first and Dylan was behind him by 2 points last week. What does that mean to have 2 of your top guys at that position who are playing with that type of effort?
Yeah, certainly. We talk about the standard that we want to play with around here and the way that we expect our guys to play with effort all the time. And I told BT that yesterday. Just, I continue to notice him. He continues to just flash and just make plays and do his job, and excited to see the way that he's improved. Dylan, same thing. But when those players are when you're, top players, your older guys are the guys that are setting the standard, leading the way. That's when you got a chance. I mean, we did a special teams drill today. It was just a one-on-one kickoff versus kickoff return, and Dylan's in that along with Brian Thomas and all of our guys. I mean, everybody is getting reps on special teams right now, and I heard Joe D, yelling at Dylan in a good way because he made a great play on a kickoff return, just one-on-one rep, and then Jeremiah may fire me after I say this, but then Lenoris came over because we were getting ready to go from that to the goal line period, and Lenoris wanted to jump into the drill, and he got in on kickoff return and went and did a rep and won the rep. So when your quarterback is taking special teams reps on his own and your starting defensive ends are giving the effort that they are, those young guys can't help but see that and say that's the way to do it, without a doubt. Good. Thank you. Joe Lyle's cousin is in this class, huh? Nephew. God bless you as well. So that's awesome. Thank you all for coming out.